insurance industry is changing. The pace at which everyone is doing business is accelerating. My name is Pat West, and I'm here to find out what the United States of insurance is all about.
So, like, you're a player coach. Like, you're the kind of person that can go, you go play third base and you can go set the batting order. You know, that same type of thing. You go play point guard and you can go coach the team at timeouts. Like, you have that unique ability. And for that, I really want to say thank you for just allowing me to pick your brain to go through this with you. First thing is understanding that insurance careers are often overlooked. What are your tips for highlighting perks and benefits to industry outsiders?
Yes, I think the first thing, Pat, is people need to take a more consultative kind of role versus a salesman. A lot of people like to sell, like, insurance is the best growing industry. That selling, anyone pushing down product down someone's throat is a salesman. You want to be a consultant, which is solving your prospect's problem. So you ask the professional or student, what's your career goals? What do you want to achieve? What are you interested in? So, for example, one thing I do is, and business insurance has had a scholarship and scholarship and mentorship program connecting non-risk management majors with money scholarships, free institute classes, courses with them, and then also pairing them with a mentor in the RMI space. And they had all interesting kind of majors, whether it's theater studies, neuroscience, film studies, pre-science major, and I basically hooked them up with mentors with interesting kind of roles like that. For example, a corporate social responsibility person for a company, also an entertainment broker. So I say it more from figure out what people want to do and then find the job or perk within insurance. That way you're addressing their need. And that's the best way really to just pinpoint what perk or benefit is going to appeal to them to make them want to join our industry.
I like that. Now, maybe a follow-up there. Do you notice any perks or benefits that tend to stand out to people, or do you feel like it is individual person to person, or have you seen any trends on that front?
I think it's individually it's just whatever you want, but working with students has been really exciting because, I mean, it's been a while since I've been a student, I'll be frank with you. But the biggest thing with that is they really want a purpose-driven career. They want to flex their passions and have a job with that. And so I think it's really critical you figure out what people are passionate about. For example, one student loves museums. And so her mentor, which is a broker, a producer broker, is introducing her to someone in a museum space who's a risk manager because that's her passion. So I think it's about passion, and having a dream career is what I guess students are really passionate about. And then long-term, you know, people like you and I who are experienced, seasoned people, it's still the same thing as purpose, but how do I expand my skill set? I've been doing X job for so long, I don't feel like I'm learning anything new. So I think it's finding ways that professional people who are experienced can expand upon different skill sets to keep them engaged and to grow their knowledge too.
Awesome answer. That's, you know, and I think that's why you see so many people that are social media coaches that have no social media background. And it's just the fact that they were in an agency and they're bored almost. And Billy, actually, Vandra, he always asks the question, he's like, you know, are you just bored right now? Because he's like, you know, you could just go write more business, but I really like that. So no, I appreciate that follow-up there. That's a consistent theme, but I think you actually expanded into more details on things than even some of the other people I've talked to about this. So thank you for that one. That's solid. Number two, where do you feel the industry can improve with regards to retention and recruitment of new professionals? And like you mentioned, including young professionals and then people transitioning from other careers.
Yeah, I think the most important thing companies can do is really utilize data that exists. There have to be employment feedback surveys and studies. There has to be trends, or I know Gamma Iota Sigma does a recruitment survey or some kind of talent survey. There's data out there. I would say listen and use that to drive retention and recruitment strategies, and follow trends. Like, I know CNA does a really good job with having social media engagement, posting what they're doing behind the scenes, sharing what their leaders are doing, what they care about. I think it's really important to figure out what are the trends. It's not new information, new job, but it's a new way to approach exposing that to people who would never see the industry. So that's the recruitment kind of side of things. On the retention, listen to feedbacks. Like I said, find new assignments or ways people can expand their job and professions. I know for me personally, there's been times I've been at jobs and I'm like, hey, I see another job in that department. So for example, I wanted to get back into marketing and it was so hard for me to transfer departments. I ended up going to a different company. And I just say that because recruitment and retention doesn't have to be rocket science, but I would just say follow your data. What are your retention numbers? What's your recruitment numbers? And see what is doing well and figure out why. And then also look and see what's not doing well and try to find some solutions. And really, I would just say pilot test things out, experiment, be new and fresh, innovative. You'll probably yield better results with that.
Okay. I like that. I think that's actually a new one. I think everybody else has kind of had their specific, like you need to, provide more freedom or something like that. But I think I'm not a rocket scientist, but I can follow trends. And I actually think that's where that stickiness ends up being. I think I have a background in economics, and I've always told people that, the only thing any teacher ever said positively about me in college was like, you get the trend part. I'll give you that. You see the trends. So I like that part of it. I can't think. I think you nailed it right there on that one. Did you want to put anything else on that part?
I will put that in. Also, I think it's really important that people talk about diversity recruitment, diversity retention, where diversity. I know plenty of diverse people, no matter how you want to name them, whether it's on religion aspect, age group, people of color, women. I know plenty of people in the industry. My question is, are you maximizing them and giving them opportunities to advance and grow? Because you probably know plenty of people start an industry, they get burnt out or disengaged and they leave. So I think really look inside the box for a solution. Don't look outside the box. That's my key thing I would ask any insurance, HR, talent acquisition person or recruiter. Look and see who's already within the company and figure out ways you can utilize them for different opportunities.
Now, are you seeing that? Because I came from Northwestern Mutual and then State Farm. Those are kind of the two corporate spots that I found myself involved with. And I took the DISC certification, or not the cert, but the DISC test. Yeah. And it seemed like all of a sudden I would go to these training sessions and it would be exactly me. It would just be like 7 people that were just like me, but there was no new ideas. There were no new perspectives. Yeah. And, that to me is I think one of the best parts of Twitter, especially. I mean, I think I was arguing with somebody in London and somebody in India today and somebody in Indiana.
You're a national arguer. Like I can do it.
I'm doing it on 20 different time zones here.
Love it.
So awesome. No, I really like that one. So number 3, this is my favorite, actually. I'm really excited to ask you this one, but what are the best jobs in the insurance industry? I put in parentheses, agent, underwriter, et cetera, probably a lot more that you could get into, but what do you feel like the best jobs in the insurance industry are right now?
Yeah, you're going to find a trend, Pat. I honestly think anything you're passionate about. I think the best job is and I say that because for me, I've had 2 careers before I got into insurance. So I worked in public health research at Kaiser Permanente. I also did marketing for McKesson, as a contractor. And so actually some of the clients I worked on, well, one was Kaiser eventually. And so I say that because if you already have a passion for something, it's easier to get into it. And then also you bring a level of expertise that your peers can't get into that, which is great. So when I'm talking to my client, I not only understand their business, but I understand the trends, and I have that lingo and language that they can relate to, so they're going to trust me more, and they're going to give me more business and work well with me. So best jobs, I mean, I'm biased, so I think a broker is a great job to have. And I say that because any job I do now going forward, now I'm doing event production, I'm doing diversity inclusion resources, I'm still using those core skills I'm doing project management, high-level customer service, research, all that stuff. I mean, underwriting, I think, is probably what I heard is a better side to get started on because you learn how to assess risk, and then you can take that over to the broker side if you choose that route, or claims. You're really understanding the language of the policy. So if you want to be an underwriter and argue coverage, you already know it there. So I think, honestly, get in where you fit in. But I would say specialize in the area that you think is interesting and fun, whether that's entertainment or art. I knew a fine art broker, and that was kind of cool because she had an art history background. So, but broker, underwriter, claims is always going to be solid and needed, but find a specialty so that you're known for an expertise and don't just become a generalist. I think generalists don't really do well anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you go into it that way, you end up going more into a niche anyway, right? In a niche market, one way or the other. One thing, it's not maybe it's more of a point, certainly not a question, but just something I keep telling everybody to just remember that at the end of the day, you know, there is that hurdle, there is that barrier where carriers especially, like they want to see this money and they want to know that not only do you have it, but that you're going to spend it almost right away on them, right? On that part of it. So, I tend to, I'm starting to see, I think the broker is truly going to be that what is the best job? It's framed up to be that way. And next I have to figure out that financial part. Like, how do you get over that hurdle? Because there are some incredibly talented people that I think get skipped over.
Something worth highlighting, you know, well, one, the storytelling, crucial skill set. If you can't tell stories, learn today. Yeah. I would say that's like one of the best things you can do to invest in yourself and have people believe in your mission and vision, and hopefully you figure everything else out, but tell a great story, you get buy-in no matter what for the most part. But I think you talking about, and so it's interesting because in my world, I'm more on the commercial side. I work for Marsh & Aon. That was what I think you're talking about is more of a producer where you're doing sales, you know, while I was more like a risk consultant. Like I would advise on casualty risk, whatever. And I say the perfect job or the idea is one that you have a threshold for. For example, I've been mentoring this lady. She's getting into the insurance industry and she's been looking at producer jobs, but she wants stability. And I'm like, if your ideal job is stability, you shouldn't be a producer. Just don't. Being a producer provides you an opportunity to make lots of money. Doesn't ever provide stability. So I think also keep in mind what are your goals and the key traits in the job, because like I said, like I don't care how much money you make, you'll never have stability. Are you okay with that? And she said no. I'm like, so stop applying to those jobs now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that front. And I think Billy and I got into that pretty deep. You know, the recruiter side of things especially tends to be somebody that's good at recruiting, like good at storytelling, but like you have to have somebody that's going to be honest with you about the ups and downs. And like you said, like everybody pitches the whole, like, you know, freedom to do what you want. And you're like, it's the opposite. Like you open a business, you lose all your freedom. Like that thing owns you for a long time. And if you ever get to that point where you do feel like you've escaped it kind of, and it runs itself, like great. But the idea that that's something that happens in the first few years is laughable. And quite frankly, it's what got me into this. The recruiters, it's read my LinkedIn. It says I don't want to open an agency in my LinkedIn. And then I was like, you know what? I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll get on the phone with you. I'll talk to you. And I found myself, I thought I was being a jerk because I'm like, no, you're wrong there. That's not how opening an agency works. I've opened, 2 for myself and I've opened 3 as a consultant. That's not how this goes. Like, and so that's when I dove in this year. I said, I really want to dive into the career side of things because there's got to be a balance. Recruiter's job is to recruit you, to get you in and to get you doing this job. But there needs to be an honesty, a kind of a balanced perspective on it. So that's solid there. So anything else that you'd want to add into that?
Yeah. Lately I've been getting a lot of requests for career advice, mostly from insurance professionals and risk management professionals. So just some things to consider is have a vision and a goal and a strategy. So you might not know the path, but at least say, hey, I want to eventually be like a chief, risk officer. Cool. Like let's backpedal, figure out what it takes. Maybe first is having a risk job, whether it's in claims, get in somehow, figure it out. Then on top of that, be good at your craft. And that's great, but that's not enough. So once you learn how to be good at your craft, you need to promote your expertise. And I say personal branding is like the best thing. You do a good job of it, Pat. But if you don't share your expertise to people, it's more selfish than vain because you could be helping so many different people and you're not sharing that and not solving their issues and helping their businesses or personal goals. So you have to exploit your expertise if you want to help others. Lastly, capitalize off that. If you're hitting marks and getting awards, recognition, Share that with other people, because that's going to get you more inbound for career opportunities than anything else. I don't really believe in applying for jobs anymore. Maybe it works for some people, but I think really referrals and networking is the best thing to do it. But if you don't promote your expertise, you're not helping clients. And if you're not doing that, you're not helping yourself to grow your career. So that's my key thing to people who want an insurance career that's going to grow and be rampant and thrive, and also connect with like-minded people. And I don't think it's more of you believe what I believe in, but I know I like hustlers. And Pat, you're a hustler. And so I want other hustlers in my life who are going to challenge the way I think, push me to do well, and make me uncomfortable, like interviewing me right now. And so I just think that you have to find that group to make it normalized to be successful. So that if you want to make insurance, be a successful person in insurance, those are my tips, and you'll go far. Yeah.
I like how you put that, almost that if you don't share that stuff, it's almost selfish.
Think about this. I think about equity of information. Like me and you have certain level of privileges, if we acknowledge it or not. We do. Whether it's I was in the right place, right time, right mentor, whatever. Not everyone has that. That's why I'm like, the information is free. You know, obviously depending on the venue, you pay for it. But if I have the chance to positively impact someone's career or life through sharing my experience, why not? It's not going to cost me a thing, but it helps pay it forward to other people. So that's why I tell people it's one, selfish not to do it, and also it's not that hard. And that's why I try to demystify the process of, hey, if you want to get more speaking engagements, do this. If you want to have a platform, do this, because you can do it, and so many free platforms to do it now more than ever. But unless you don't do that, we don't have more diverse in whatever aspect people sharing their stories, especially young people. I feel like it's really a lack of, except for now with you guys, a lack of young people talking about insurance as a career or expertise. And we need to show that millennials are not only here, but we're thriving in this space, and that we are currently leaders. We're not future leaders. We are leaders. And so having you share your story through this or whatever is really helpful, because it gives me role models to show my scholars, like, hey, check out Pat, check out Tony, check out Amy. And they tell me, Deidre, when I saw you, I never imagined you worked in insurance. Like you're not my vision of someone. I'm like, I'm not the only one who looks like this or looks different. So check these people out. They're killing it.
That hit home for me right there. That's all I'm trying to say. I like that.
Yeah.
That really hit home. So
and it's abundant. My last point, I come from an abundance mindset. The whole idea is there's only so much room for ex-leaders. Why can't we all lead? Why can't we all have value? So I would just say there's enough room for everybody. Now, don't come with bad content or bad information. You have to bring your A game, but there's enough room for everybody to be here and thrive. So I just think, like I say, I thank you for this. I thank everyone who's been out there on Twitter, Instagram, or wherever promoting themselves, because it helps our industry have more role models, and it helps attract people who would not necessarily listen to you or me, because we have a variety of role models and they might identify with that. It helps recruit that person. It's like, man, Pat's my role model, or Tony or Deidre. And it's like, hey, we're getting new people because you're just visible.
It is important, like I said, to get that message out there. It's critical right now, because we probably don't need to replace the retirees on a one-to-one basis. Yeah. But I do worry that the talent aspect of it does tend to lag, because everybody wants to work at a FANG type of company, right? They don't want to work at State Farm is stuffy or something.
Oh, I actually was at State Farm for a couple of months, and my cousins, you know how State Farm is a family company. Everyone, their family works there. So my cousin and her husband both work there in claims. And so it's just funny and then my friends from there who still work there. And so I would say at least the State Farm in Georgia is definitely not stuffy from my experience. It's very tough, is going to make the cut. But one of my funniest stories, or I would say my unconscious bias story about State Farm. So I had like an underwriting service assistant job, very, very entry level. Like, the systems when you have a change of address or a name change, I'm using that old school computer that has a green screen and changing it with functions and whatever. That was my first insurance job. Yeah. And so we had a trainer. They flew a trainer in from out of state who's going to teach us on how to do something else, something complicated. And when I looked at the front room, I'm like, she's not our trainer, is she? It was a lady with a tattoo on her face. Apparently, she was like the baddest one doing some kind of tech. And that's why I was saying I give State Farm its credit. Like, obviously, it's a back end kind of job, a non-customer facing one. But they'll give people opportunities to get jobs no matter what you look like. Because I'm thinking like, dang, what's she gonna teach me how to be a gangster? And she's like whipping her thing and teaching us. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. So I have to get credit where it's due. And I'm not saying everyone should get face tattoos. We're not all like Mike Tyson, but I will say like companies, if you don't have a job that's customer facing, and maybe if it is, like, be open to who you employ, because they don't want to block smart people from being in your company or in your industry.
Insurance does allow you to do anything from, like you said, entry level all the way up through being a lawyer for an insurance company, being an IT specialist that's, you know, researching and developing autonomous cars. Like, don't kid yourself. These places are just as dynamic as anything that you see on the coast side of it. But you get a little bit, maybe it's a little more of an open opportunity, because maybe you and I are some of the few people that see that. So hopefully this will get that opened up. But hopefully it does.
I just can't. I'm like, I just always see her in her face tattoo. And I was like, and I'm not, I mean, obviously, maybe I'm more sophisticated now. I was not that sophisticated back then. I was like, who the heck is that? And it's like, that's my trainer. Like, mind you, I'm like, you know, went to Spelman College, you know, I'm used to certain kind of people. And it's like, hey, Deidre, like, you can learn from anybody. So don't just credit her because she looks different than you, and, you know, does have this appearance. So it's just always my funny one. I talk to my cousins about that. I also have another one that definitely can't make the cut. I grew up exposed to commercial side of things. I wasn't really exposed to personal lines. Even the day people ask me, I'm like, I don't know personal lines. Like, you need to talk to your agent, you know. But I would say, like, for me, I do appreciate the opportunity, because honestly, no one's giving me opportunity on none of the big companies. And so I had to start somewhere. And I tell everyone, humble yourself. Like, you want to go to Apple, maybe you have to start at a startup somewhere else and just, you know, have a low level job and be grateful for that. And then Absolutely. You parlay that to next level. But I think we have to stop giving ourselves false senses that we're entitled to opportunities that we haven't worked for. I just don't understand that.
That the industry is very hard on newcomers, and you can't show up and expect people to be like, well, that's a damn good point. You should be the CEO. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, never. You have to never, even if you're the smartest person and you're talking about something that nobody else even knows about, they're not going to give you that credit for a little bit of time. And that's one of my big takeaways is always that patience. Like, they're going to love you. Trust me. There's no place that's harder on you for less amount of time than the insurance industry, but you're going to get it no matter how good you are. They're going to kick you a little bit, but they're going to love you so much faster. And I really do see that a lot. So,
well, I have a question. How did you develop your leadership style? You seem very confident. Were you always confident with your style? Did you ever, like, get to a point where, like, this is who I am? Like, I know I had my insecurities when I was younger. Now I'm like, I don't care. Like, were you always like this, or how did you develop that over time?
No. So like I said, I played college baseball, and that ended pretty abruptly for me and took all my confidence away. You know, I unfortunately had, I guess, based a lot of my self-confidence on the fact that I was on a team, that I was, you know, a baseball player. And so when that was over, and it was over overnight, I mean, it happened like, you know, Tuesday I was a ball player, and a Wednesday I was a college kid, you know, with no friends and that type of thing at a brand new school. And so for me, the mentorship part of it was a big deal. So I met a former major leaguer that was in insurance. He's working at Northwestern Mutual. I went to Northwestern Mutual, and there was a handful of other guys that had played ball. And so there was that camaraderie of all of us, like, hey, how did you get out of ball? Like, did you get hurt? And I took probably, and I always forget this number, but I took probably 300 or 400 meetings, joint meetings with clients. So I didn't do a single individual one-on-one meeting for about 300 or 400 times. So that's probably a good year and a half, 2 years, maybe somewhere in that range. And I think that was just that willingness to say, I kind of feel silly that I can't do this myself. Yeah. Putting that aside and just being around people that had made it, that had thousands of interviews and meetings under their belt, that gave me the confidence to say, okay, again, I'm not somebody that goes off a gut too often if I can help it. I like to reference facts. I like to reference experiences. So I think a lot of my confidence, if you want to call it that, comes from the fact that if I say something, it's probably because I've seen it happen 25 different times, right? But then the other thing is I'm super conscious of the bullshit. And I really empathize with people, I think, at a level that managers refuse to do. Because I think you can only let somebody feel sorry for themselves for so long, especially in the production side of things, before you're like, look, I hear you, but you're never going to move away from this with that mindset. For me, I've been able to separate, okay, this is something that your manager says because they need to hit quota. This is something they're saying because you cannot move forward without getting over that. So those two things, I think the mentorship part of it really was, I think, where I can stand back and say, look, like I started selling insurance when I was 20 after baseball was over, gone through all these programs. It ends up being that ability to just that knowledge that I'm not going to say something that I can't back up with experience, especially. Like even facts get disputed, but if you're like, sure, I was in a room and the room was red.
there it is.
There it is. Like, what else do you want me to tell you?
The policy says this. Like, you got to check that out. You can argue it, but it says that. And I ask that because I think everyone goes through that aha moment in their career, and it's always something that triggers it different. So I always ask, like, when was that point where you're like, well, one, you felt like I know something? Because I remember for so long I felt like I didn't know anything. And then really at my aha moment, I would just look around, like, the experienced people are just confident and conversational. The new people are here are like robots spouting out numbers. And I'm like, maybe I should relax because I see them doing well and they're relaxed, right? You know, and then these people are not really making weight. Or it's not, honestly, I'm dealing with risk managers, and a lot of them are doing their job for like 20 something years. So they already been there, done that. And they don't want no bullshit. They'll tell you, like, I don't want, you know, I want this person. That's my go-to person. Who's this new person on my account? Like, you're just going to give it to anybody? So I find that the more confident you are and really connecting on a personal level is always good. And then really just being like, I don't know, but I'll find the answer. I feel like that's more value, but people don't do that because they want to be a know-it-all I don't know if it's ego purposes or like I need it, but it's like, I don't know, but I'll follow up with you and then follow up. And that's how you win clients over and they can trust you. Because I remember when clients and like major ones of $1 billion companies will start coming to me first, I'm like, okay, I must be onto something because I'm still junior. They're coming to me over my boss. So clearly I'm providing value. So why am I so stressed out? You know, because they're happy with me. So I just think for every professional, whether it's in insurance or not, you got to understand that customer service and research will always be in style.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah, it is. And the whole, I do worry about the kind of guru culture that's being created right now because, and the internet culture, right? Like the last thing most people want is somebody to say like, no, I disagree with that. And like, for me, I actually feel the opposite. Like I get worried when it's like, damn right, Pat. Like I get really worried about that because it's like, come on, like, I know I didn't put a question mark on there and that's my bad, but I was actually asking. I wasn't making a statement. You know, I'm trying to consistently learn. And I think there is that just intense fear that somehow I'm going to be exposed as a fraud or a fake or because I don't know one thing about something random. And I think that's where one of the first things they told me at Northwestern Mutual was like, never promise that you know the answer to anything. But always guarantee that you're willing to go find that answer. If you're always willing to go find that answer, like you're going to be okay. And I probably learned that like 2-3 weeks in, and I always stuck by that. And I've still said that to this day. And I do worry though, because that the internet culture where anything is, you can Google anything. I don't know if that is going to play well for insurance, you know, because if you pretend to know something in our industry, you could set somebody up for a multi-million-dollar problem in the snap of a finger. And guess what? Now that's your multi-million-dollar problem too. So I think we deal in a lot bigger numbers than people give us credit for. I mean, we deal in hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars and livelihoods, people's lives, people's families. And, you know, I don't sell on the doom and gloom, but I also have a very hearty respect for the reality of when we don't do our job the right way. Let's see here. Let's do the last one because it was a good one. What are some free or cheap career resources insurance pros can leverage? This is a good one.
Yeah, it's a lot of free ones. I would say the first one is internet, because literally if you type in insurance career insurance talent crisis. There's so many articles out there. So if you need stats and studies to justify why you need to invest in career paths or recruiting people, that's already there. And I think you need data to sell into why to get resources to your recruit talent or go visit different websites or not websites, different schools and stuff like that. So that's one point of data you need if you want to invest in a new program. Also, Gamma to Sigma, you can't beat that. They have a lot of great things from, careers posted there. So if you want to post a job or look for a job, there's one right there. Ensure My Path is another website that has different resources. And I would say go to different organizations. There's professional organizations catering to different groups, whether it's NAI, the National African American Insurance Association, WING, the Women in Insurance Networking Group, RIMS, Risk and Insurance Management Society. They all have different either programs, scholarships, or job postings or something. I know RIMS has a rising risk professional group that caters to young people who are interested in risk management careers or something like that. And I say that because maybe your mentee is not interested in careers and insurance, but they'll probably take the information and be more receptive to it to have a peer talk to them about that. So get a rising risk professional, get someone from emerging insurance professionals, another organization cater to them. And I would say leverage that peer-to-peer connection because they're going to want the real deal for someone who's like them. Like I said, young, fresh, new. So those are some free resources. Also, what we use, Twitter, Instagram, that's a good way to get your company's brand out there where young people can actually look at things going on. Another thing is if you have the money, sponsor events that kids go to or young people go to. I actually gave an idea to somebody who has a startup in insurance, and I'm like, they want influential and affluent people for that. And I'm like, why don't you sponsor something at Coachella? Like, that's the people you want, young, new money with money to burn. So I would just say find where the demographics at and find fun ways to get them to look at your brand and then go to your website.
So I'm going to list all of the free resources that you brought up, in the notes, and I'll make sure that's in there, and I'll obviously highlight them in the video. But if people want to follow along, people want to get in touch, or they really want to dive deeper into what you're working on, how can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on my website, which is deidrewright.com. That's one place you can find me. I'm also very active on LinkedIn. If you look at Deidre Wright, I'm pretty much the top one right there. And I say that because on one side, what I do for business insurance, I lead their Diversity Inclusion Institute, which is a great collaborative effort for the insurance industry to create and maximize diversity and inclusion resources. So if you're interested in that, we have events, we have research and data, we have a lot of great things. Check it out at diversityinclusioninstitute.com. On the other side, what I find a big need is a lot of insurance professionals and professionals in general need personal branding tricks and traits basically to advance their career agendas. If you want to be getting paid more, if you want to get recognized or do things to develop, you got to work on your personal brand. So if you want help with that, definitely reach out to me, like I said, at deidrewright.com, and I'll help you with those needs.
This is what I was truly hoping for, is to just say, here's a true broad view of this industry. This isn't just about being an agent. This isn't just about being an underwriter. The things that you really touched on, I think this is one of those dynamic conversations that obviously I'm going to, really learn a lot from, and I really can't wait to share it because